Hey, y'all. Welcome to the Soaring Through Adversity podcast. I'm Renee Brazilet, co-founder and CEO of our foundation, The Victory Advantage, and your host. Each week, we amplify the often unheard voices of individuals with IDD and physical disabilities, voices filled with resilience, wisdom, and unstoppable strength. Through raw, real conversations, you'll hear how they rise above challenges, defy expectation, and discover purpose. These are the stories of people living victoriously beyond limitations. If you're ready to be inspired, to shift your perspective, and to champion true inclusion, you're in the right place, because this isn't just a podcast. It's a movement to celebrate the unstoppable strength of the human spirit. Please stay with us as we redefine what's possible, one story at a time. Hey, y'all. Welcome to the Soaring Through Adversity podcast. I am Renee Brazilet, co-founder and CEO of our foundation, and your host. Each month, we amplify the often unheard voices of individuals with intellectual development and physical disability, as well as those who support them. Voices filled with resilience, wisdom, and unstoppable strength. Through raw and real conversations, you'll hear how they rise above challenges, defy expectations, and discover purpose. These are stories of people living victoriously beyond limitations. If you're ready to be inspired, to shift your perspective, and to champion true inclusion, you're in the right place. This isn't just a podcast, it's a movement to celebrate the unstoppable strength of the human spirit. Please stay with us as we define what's possible, one story at a time. Well, let me introduce to you my guest today, Marla O'Neill. She is a devoted mother, seasoned advocate, and social services professional with over 18 years of experience supporting individuals with intellectual and development disabilities, and many of the guests will know that is IDD. A graduate of UNC Charlotte with a degree in human services with a concentration in psychology. Marla's personal experiences, particularly as a mother of 3 sons with diverse challenges, have deeply shaped her compassion and purposeful approach to advocacy. Motivated by her son Michael Wayne's journey with autism, Marla and Michael co-founded Inspiration Station of America, a platform aimed at uplifting families facing similar trials. Despite enduring much loss and adversity, including the death of her son Jake and supporting her eldest son Joshua in recovery, Marla remains a pillar of strength and hope. Her unwavering faith, love of nature, and commitment to helping others shine through in every aspect of her work and life. Today's episode is called A Mother's Stand, Advocacy Born with Love, Loss, and Unshakable Faith. You ready to get started?
I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm excited.
Okay, good. Well, let me ask you this first question. When Michael was first diagnosed with autism, what were those early days like?
Ooh, they were tough. He's 27 now, so that was a long time ago, but the memories still are very fresh. And I think they always will be, because for him, he's come so far and made such a stark change from what he was like when he was little. The thing that stands out to me the most is that when we got the diagnosis, we were told the best thing we could do was save every penny so that we never had to put him in a public institution. And I'm a pretty stubborn woman anyway. I get that real honest from my dad.
Yes.
And I dug my heels in and thought, well, it will be a cold day and you know what, before that ever happens. And it set me on a journey. I had 2 children at that time still in diapers. They were 14 months apart, and so they were a handful during the day. And when I got them to bed at night, I would do my research, and I would stay up sometimes till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, just researching and looking at what options were, because locally what the options weren't what I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
And I realized very early on that there were so many things that were being put out there. The refrigerator mom, that one really hurt.
Yeah. You want to tell us what that is?
No, because it's hurtful. It was the whole thing that a child was diagnosed and went into a state of autism because the mother was so frigid. Oh, yeah, look
Oh
at your
my
face.
gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So after reading all about that, it took me like 2 days to pick myself up on the floor.
That's similar to Ray had a brother that had Downs, and the doctor told his mother that she must have done something wrong.
mm,
I mean, that stuff like that just blows my mind, the lack of empathy. And you look back on it, were they being mean or was it just ignorance of the time? I'm going with the ignorance of the
I'm
time.
going with ignorance too.
Yeah.
I always try to see the best
Yes.
in people. But the thing is there was so much information then, but most of it was experimental in nature, which
Oh,
means that insurance wouldn't pay for any of it,
gotcha.
which means that, as a family of 5 at that time, we are on a very limited budget. I'm a stay-at-home mom, and we're trying really hard to figure out how and what we should pursue for him with the funds that we had.
Mm-hmm.
So I had always been a woman of faith.
Yeah.
I was raised in a church, baptized in 1972.
Yeah.
I'm aging myself a bit there, but
We won't tell nobody.
I think it came to a point where I just realized that I had to really go to God to seek that discernment that I needed. And that was a journey in and of itself with the prayers and learning how to pray for specifics and learning how to discern, which is something that really had never been in the forefront of my mind before.
Yes. Until you started doing the research. But let me ask you a question. Looking back, and like you said, it's been a number of years ago, but what would you tell your younger self at this moment?
Listen to your
For the
instincts.
listeners. There you go.
Listen to your instincts, because when you're in tune with your child and you are very active in their play life and, you're spending the time with them and you're getting in their face, even if they're shutting you out and pushing you away, listen to your instincts. And I'll give you an example if I could.
Sure.
So when Michael was really young, we learned about hyperbaric therapy. And at the time, that was very experimental in nature. It was only one place in the state of North Carolina that you could go for that. And it was in the mountains, and it was very expensive, and it was a deep dive. So hyperbarics is based on Henry's law of physics. When you put oxygen under pressure, it dissolves into a liquid. So basically the premise is that when you put a person who has insults in their body, person with autism, under this pressure, it works to clean out those cells. So at the time, I thought this made sense, but there was something within me telling me it's not time. It's not time. And I was right. So instead, we went on a different journey with Michael at the time. And when it was time, it was very apparent that it was time for hyperbarics.
Did it work? Was it helpful?
It was not only helpful, but I believe it's what brought about his language.
So tell us about that. I understand I had the pleasure of interviewing your son on one of my earlier podcasts, and he said a couple things to me. And one of them, I believe, was he didn't speak till he was 7 or 8. Is that right?
Almost 8.
Yes.
So it was very challenging when he was young because he screamed a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And when he screamed, it was out of frustration because he couldn't communicate.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the first things that I did once I decided to go into the realm of ABA with him, which is applied behavior analysis.
Okay. Applied behavior analysis.
mhm.
Okay.
And at that time, there was one BCBA in the state of North Carolina, and she was very expensive, and she was 4 hours away.
Do you
So
want to
we
explain
found
that?
someone,
What's
pardon me,
that acronym?
a board-certified behavior analyst.
Okay. You're teaching everybody a lot, I hope.
Well, actually, all of these things now are very common
Yeah.
because, that was considered experimental when he was little.
Yeah.
Fast forward, he's 27 now.
Mm-hmm.
I actually lobbied in Raleigh to help bring about the change to have legislature pass that it was a requirement for insurance to cover that. I was there when Pat McCrory signed that bill.
Very good.
Um,
You
but
are
it
you
was
are a
because
true
of
advocate.
my experience.
Yes. Your heart for it.
Yes, and seeing the difference that it made with Michael. But choosing to go the route with a diet first, which is what we were first told was like the first thing that we really needed to do.
Yeah.
Um, we were told to take him off gluten and casein. So we initially started with gluten.
Mm-hmm.
I go back to the doctor like 6 weeks later and he said, "Well, how's it going?" And I said, "Well, he's completely off gluten, but I don't see any difference."
Yeah.
And he said, "Well, I actually told you to take him off gluten and casein, which is milk.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the milk protein." And I said, "Well, I thought we would at least see some difference if we tried one first."
Very good.
And he said, "Well, in a lot of cases, you are absolutely right. You don't want to do too many things at once.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you can't identify the efficacy, number one, and number two, the effectiveness. However, in this case, the molecular makeup of gluten and casein are so similar that the body tricks itself into thinking that it's both.
Yeah.
So if you don't remove them at the same time, the IgG allergen that is likely present is not going to show any difference."
So what happened?
So we went home and we removed milk.
Yeah.
The milk was a lot harder than the gluten.
Oh, I bet.
It was a lot harder than the gluten.
Yeah.
And once we had gotten to a point where he was completely gluten and casein free, there was a period where I just wasn't seeing the effects that I thought I should be seeing.
Yes.
And it took almost 4 months. And, it's more expensive. It's harder because everybody else in the family is not.
Yeah.
And so after that period, his dad and I were talking, and I'm like, "I'm just not sure that this is the right thing," even though I felt such strong conviction in my heart.
So you were listening to your own thoughts.
Well, and I
You were
believe,
getting the
the
discernment.
discernment that
Yeah.
that God gives you through that prayer.
Yes.
And within like 3 days, Michael comes up to me, and before it was he would come up to me and grab my hand and lead me somewhere and put my hand on something to tell me that's what he wanted.
Yeah.
Or to bring me a toy that was fixed, and he would put it in my hands and, imply fix it. But he comes up to me and he takes my hands and he just looks at me
He
and
looks
he
at you.
just stares at me for a minute. And when I tell you the sensation that ran from my head to my toe was a full body experience of a spirituality that I've never experienced before. And I knew in that moment, okay, we got to keep doing this diet because it was the only thing that we had changed.
And there you go.
And there you go,
Yeah.
4 months later. And I say 4 months later, but it was really 6 months because the first month and a half, 6 weeks, we didn't do it right.
Yeah. So I got to ask you this question because you had that moment where he just stared at you and you felt that feeling, that unique feeling. How did you feel the first time you heard him speak?
Oh.
I wish you guys could see the look on her face.
How did I feel? I actually danced.
Did you?
I wanted to see him react to me being so delighted in hearing his voice that I actually danced a little jig.
Yeah, good for you.
I mean, I really did. And ironically enough, where that took place was in Cummings, Georgia. We went down for 2 weeks to try hyperbaric therapy. And this was, obviously he was 7 years old, and we camped. My dad had a camper. We camped on Lake Lanier for the 2 weeks. And I guess it was either the fourth or fifth morning that we were there. I was, in the kitchen cooking his breakfast, getting ready, and he wakes up. You can see from one end to another in an
Yeah,
RV.
and a camper,
And
yeah.
I looked back there and I started doing peekaboo with him a little bit. And then all of a sudden I hear mama.
Oh.
And I'm like, what? Say it again, say it again, say it again.
Did he?
No, he didn't say it again, but he got out of bed and he ran to me. And that's while he's running to me, I'm turning around in circles dancing. And I get down on my knees and he put his hands on my face, and he just looked at me for, I don't know, it felt like an endless moment,
Yeah.
but it wasn't but seconds. And then he leaned his head into my forehead to be like, I see you.
That is such a bond.
And I remember saying, say it again, mama, mama.
Oh, that is a beautiful story. And that was when you knew he was going to have his very own voice in this world.
Well, I prayed that it would
Yeah.
continue, that's for sure.
Yeah, I bet you did. I bet you did. Well, today, Michael is a college graduate and a journalist. What does that mean to you to see how far he's come?
God is good.
Very good.
All the time.
Yes, right. That's right. So from that perspective, you have kind of changed your role. Not changed. You've combined another role from not just being his mother, but being his momager, which is fantastic. As he gets further and further out in the spotlight. So what's it been like, the inspiration that you have felt coming along beside him in your new additional role, which you've changed your hat quite often in your life, but
Seeing him evolve has been one of the biggest joys of my life. And I want to go back for a minute if I can,
of course.
because in those early days when I talk about being in prayer for him, it really was unimaginable now when I look back how much I prayed at that time. And I mean hours in a day. When he would go to school, he would get on that bus, and the first thing I'd do is go in the house and I would pray. And then eventually I had a prayer partner join me. Her name was Susan. Her son had autism also. And there were days that we would pray together for 2 hours on the phone for our children, for their teachers, for their voices, for their bodies, for discernment, for lead us what we should do next, where we should go. And I really believe that that made all the difference. And I've even said to people that if I could be as obedient in my own personal life as I've been in this journey with Michael, that I might be a saint.
I know you. No.
um, well, it's joking, but it is sad that we can devote so much energy into one area of our lives.
Well,
and
especially
then
our
not.
children.
Yes.
Especially our children. That's right.
So that is kind of going back a little bit, but seeing the great works that he continues to do in Michael's life, it's a gratitude beyond words. It really is every single day, because I was friends with a lot of moms
Yeah.
when he was young, and not all of those children made the same strides that Michael did. And so
So there were other parents of children that had autism as well? Your friends. Okay.
Yes. I mean, I was in mom's groups. I was a mentor parent with First in Families in Charlotte for 3 years. I was awarded Parent of the Year one year.
When I use the word advocate, you are a true, devoted advocate. You've done way more than what your bio told me.
Well, maybe that's a little bit of a modesty thing. I don't do it for any reason other than to help a person become what God intends for them to be.
Well, that's kind of why you wanted to do this podcast when I asked you, so that it could help other people. That's very admirable. Well, talking about how far Michael has come, I mentioned in the bio that you guys co-founded Inspiration Station of America, which is a heck of a name, by the way. Well, first of all, tell us what it is in your own words.
Inspiration Station kind of was a spin-off. The MWO show came first. And
I did not know that.
yes, the
Because I'm going to talk
MWO
about
show
that in a
came
minute.
first.
Okay.
So can I go ahead and kind
Sure,
of share
let's
how
do
that
that.
came? Michael announced to us, I believe it was his junior year in high school, that he wanted to be the next Al Michaels on Sunday Night Football. So for
He don't set his
us,
goals low, does he? That bar's high.
hey, dream it, do it.
That's right.
So when he shared that with us, I had that, what I call God moment, just run all over my body. And I looked at him and I said, you're not only going to be the next Al Michaels, you're going to have your own show, and it's going to be called the MWO show.
And he was a junior in high school.
A junior in high school. And it stuck. It stuck. It just stuck. And from that point on, it was always in the back of our minds.
So it was kind of like the idea came, the inspiration came, but then it was kind of tabled for a little while.
It was tabled because he knew he needed a college degree.
Yeah.
He had stepping stones that he had to kind of go to get there. And I think it was maybe 3 years ago that we actually put the MWO show out there as a social media platform for him to begin building some, I guess, presence within social media. Mr. Union County is his nickname. There's a lot of people, obviously, in Union County that know him. But we put it out there.
All of those football games that he announced when he was in school. That voice, it's undeniable, Michael.
So that's how it all started, was the MWO show. And then when we decided we were actually going to open a business, we talked to a business advisor. And the business advisor said, well, what all do you want to encompass in this? And obviously there's a whole piece with Michael, but I feel like I've got a story to share as well.
Yes, you do.
I want to write a book. I
Very
would like to
good.
get that published. I wouldn't be opposed to doing some public speaking myself. I haven't done it in many years, but I do feel like I've got a story to share that's inspiring, encouraging, and full of hope. And then there's others that have inspiration to do things that maybe they wouldn't have the opportunity to do without an umbrella to be under. And that kind of was the last piece that came. But I would love to eventually open the platform up to have other people with special needs or not come under us, and we be like an agent for them and help them find speaking opportunities.
That is wonderful. So in essence, you would help them start their own career.
Correct.
That is fabulous. That is fabulous.
Or be in addition to a career they already have. Mm-hmm. Or, not everybody that has special needs wants to work full time like Michael. I mean, I think he could work 60, 70 hours a week and he'd be happy. I have to continue reminding him that I'm the one that's older now and I'm not as able to do that as I once was. So when we were talking with this business advisor, what they said was, you need to come up with another name. And the MWO show can fall under the umbrella of the Inspiration Station. Well,
So you've got...
we didn't know what the name was going to be at that time.
Okay.
But this other entity, this other business, because you don't want the MWO show to just be the end all, because it sounds like that's one thing.
Gotcha.
And what you're looking at is offering many things.
Yes.
So at that point, we kind of sat on it for a little bit and started coming up with business names. And we were going to do Inspiration Station, and that was taken. And then we were like, well, Inspiration Station of North Carolina.
Not
that
big
was
enough.
taken.
But
it was taken. And then finally we're like, well, I don't know a whole lot of people that are more patriotic than Michael Wayne O'Neill. Let's go big or go home.
That's
right. Now
right.
we have Inspiration Station of America.
And it's not long before he is making a trip to Colorado, which is covering pretty much all of America. So that's great.
And
that's
international.
Great. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that
There's
is
going to
fabulous.
be people from all over the world.
That is fabulous. So Inspiration Station is kind of like where you were before you've developed the MWO show in its entirety.
The MWO show came first.
Yes.
And we knew what the vision was with that.
Mm-hmm.
But as an after, when we were thinking beyond the MWO show, what do we want to do?
Mm-hmm.
That's how Inspiration Station came about.
Okay. So tell us about that part, what you were thinking when you developed that particular entity.
MWO show?
No, the Inspiration.
ISA. Okay. When we were thinking about that, it was, there's so much more that, like for instance, I've got a book that I've been working on. I had originally said it was going to be published by 2024, the end of 2024. I wish that I could say I'm close, but I'm still not close to being finished with it. But time is not my friend, and I do work a full-time job. So we have to do things when we can. And so publishing books, that's one thing. Michael's has been told more than once that he needs to write a book. And then we've got my oldest son who has a story to tell as well. And he's working on his book and would like to publish it through Inspiration Station.
Very good. So there's a lot within your family that you can share with other people. And, having written that book myself, it is really involved. And you'll find when you're writing it that when times are great, you can fly through that. When you're on the mountain, you relive those moments and you're like, oh my goodness, and then you hit those valleys. It's a little more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
But what I found was in the end, as you would get through those sections, you would see how God had pulled you through that. And there would be another mountain that he would allow you to climb if you stayed faithful to him. And sometimes there won't be the mountain that follows that, but I was able to look back and see when I was in that valley how I could improve, things that I could have done different that I then could share with other people,
Right.
Not just your successes, but also where you might have fallen short, because then hopefully you can prevent them from maybe taking the same path. But that takes some humility. It really does. But I wouldn't change anything for the world. But I did it during COVID. So, time was a little different,
Right.
back then. And I had just sold the company, so I didn't have a full-time job. So how you do everything you do, I have no idea. So let's take a break, and we'll be back in a moment.
Sounds good.
The Soaring Through Adversity podcast is presented by Victory in Time. Victory in Time's mission is to help executives, leaders, and business owners excel in their faith, lives, and work. Through speaking engagements, one-on-one mentoring, and our mastermind groups, known as Victory Circles, Victory in Time wants to help you become the best leader you can be. Find out more at victoryintime.com. Also, don't forget to pick up your copy of the Soaring Through Adversity book, Life Lessons to Lead Triumph and Rise Above. All net proceeds from sales of the Soaring Through Adversity book benefit Victory Advantage.
Let's talk about your other sons. You've walked through some deep heartbreak. The loss of Jake after his brain injury, and then Joshua's ongoing recovery. How have those experiences further shaped your life, I should say?
Jake's death was, I don't know, I think it shook the core of our family. I was in the middle of a divorce during his illness. Well, I guess his illness started before, and then the divorce came into play during that time. It was 3 years of really tough times with Jake. And he had attempted suicide 3 times. He had been in the hospital more times than I can remember, truly. And I just always believed that God had worked so many miracles in Michael's life to that point that he would deliver Jake. And today, I can say that Jake was delivered.
Oh, that's
hard for me to say too.
Yeah.
But that Jake was delivered from his illness, his misery, his, that brain injury that he sustained was what a lot of people would equate to chronic traumatic encephalopathy, which is not able to be diagnosed until a person is postmortem. However, when we went to see the specialist in New York, there were only 6 places we could go in the country. And they showed us the brains of people who had sustained head injuries post-mortem that had CTE, and Jake's brain, it mirrored it in a lot of ways.
Yes.
And his biggest insult was to the temporal lobe, which is the area of the brain that is responsible for logic and reasoning.
Yes.
So he would go from 0 to 100 in 2 seconds. I mean, it was that fast. And so it was a rough 3 years for us. Losing him to suicide was devastating. And when I look back, we were interviewed. This happened on Thanksgiving Day. We were interviewed by people with the media, and I agreed to all of that because immediately I knew that I could not let his death be in vain. If there was anybody that I could help in losing my own child, I had to do it. And it wasn't until a couple of years later that I truly realized that he was delivered.
I can understand that.
And I think that only a person of very strong faith can grasp what I'm saying there.
But think of how many people you're touching. You touch them then, and you're touching now, because so many people are conflicted with suicide, trying to come to grips with it. That sounds like exactly what so many people need to hear.
I can't tell you the number of people that have reached out to me on social media. At one point, I found this area in Messenger on Facebook, and I didn't even know that it had existed, and I had over 400 messages. And it was like 2 years later. And people it was really overwhelming at that time. It was almost like reliving that again. There were actually some people that weren't very nice and, had said things like, how could you dare get on TV for a moment of fame in your son's death. And I'm like, well, you missed the point.
Definitely they did.
But then there were other people that were like, I'm so worried about my son. When you think about everything you did, what made the most difference? What would you do different? What, but this was 2 years later. So I didn't know what to do with all of that then. And so I just prayed. I just prayed because I kept thinking I was in a very different place in my life at that moment. And I thought, if I reach back out to all of these people, I'm opening up something that I can't follow through with right this minute. So I just prayed for them all. And it was the best thing that I could have done. There have been some people that have reached out to me since then, because now that I know where this little section of chat is, when people message you and you don't know who they are, it goes to a different section.
Yeah.
And some of Jake's friends that I never knew, that have said, I can't even tell you how many times I think of you every time I think of committing suicide myself.
Oh, Marla.
And I think of you and I can't do that to my family. And I reply now.
Yes.
And my reply is, call me. I want to share with you how special you are. And I want to share with you why you're special to me. And sometimes they have, and sometimes they haven't. They're always hard conversations.
I bet. I can't imagine. Good for you. That is so raw and real. Thank you for sharing that. And then, do you care to talk about Joshua?
Now, you talk about God's grace, God's mercies.
You got a recent victory, didn't you?
I know it's still young for him, but 12 plus 7, 19, September 2nd, I'm sorry, he will have a year and a half clean.
That's amazing. Good for
And,
him.
Joshua's story, goes back to even times, he tells the first time he drank a beer, he's like 9 years old. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
But by the time he was 16 years old, he had left home. He was using drugs, alcohol, and doing everything he could to escape life on life's terms and not being very productive. At one point, began selling drugs, and his rap sheet is very, very long. And it took, unfortunately, him losing his children, his home, being homeless on the streets in Skid Row in California. And when I went to see him in February of 2024, I truly thought that that was going to be the last time I saw him. He was barely recognizable as my child.
It had to be hard. And I'm sure you wanted to fix it. But
Well,
you
I
can't.
knew enough about my journey with him that I had tried. There was nothing I could do. He was in treatment 4 times. He's had about 7 near-death experiences in his life, and I'm not joking when I say near-death experiences. Hospitalization, it just amazes me how many times God saved him. And I would tell him those things. And I don't think that it fell on deaf ears because he was raised in church.
Yeah.
And I know he has maintained being a believer, but in his sick mind, twisted and justified his usage so that he could continue to do it.
Well, it has grasp on him at that point.
Yes.
But it was in there.
It was in there.
Yes.
And he got arrested in L.A. Because he fell asleep on a bus. And he was disoriented when he woke up, and I guess was a little combative with the bus driver. So the bus driver called the police officer. Police officer came. He had no ID. They arrested him. It was the best thing that happened to him.
Yeah. Sometimes we just have to let go and let God in his mysterious ways.
So he has always been into music and producing music. And he's always had these wild, bizarre stage names. And when he decided he wanted to start producing Christian music, he was like, I really need a good stage name. Help me come up with a good stage name. And I said, you already have one. No, I've always laughed at you coming up with all these stage names. You are Joshua Christian King. Christian King is a great stage name.
Especially for gospel music.
Yes.
That's
and it's
perfect.
funny because I don't remember which platform, but they wouldn't even let him take that name on his platform because they said that it wasn't real or something. It's kind of
and
funny.
that was his name.
These social
So
media
when did he
rules.
start wanting to produce the Christian music?
While he was in jail.
Fabulous.
So that story is pretty amazing. He did have a couple of charges outstanding against him when he was arrested.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, they look and they search to find out, is there things out there? And by process of just going through the motions, he started to see the light, have the willingness, was able to get those things resolved, got out of jail, on probation, has now completed probation completely. And he's doing some pretty amazing things out in California with music.
Well, I hope he can write that book. That'd be fabulous. Well, you've worked in the disability services for nearly 2 decades. What changes have you seen, and what do you think still needs to evolve within the disability service part?
I understand there's a need for paper trails, and I say paper trails, but it's computer trails.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is electronic health records now. But the mandates on how much you have to do to actually serve one person just takes the person-centeredness out of it. And that was primarily why I actually went into the field, because it was a person-centered approach. The person with the diagnosis, as much as they were able, could say, I want to do these things. And then the objective was to help them reach the goals.
Yes.
And obviously, for some of them, it's just, they just want to get to Disney World.
Yes.
But hey,
that's a goal.
That's a
right.
goal.
That's right.
It's become nearly impossible to do that. And unfortunately, just last week, more cuts were announced. The administration's bill that was passed primarily was slated to hit mental health and substance abuse, which in and of itself still needs its own funding.
Yes. And both go hand in hand.
Well, they do. They go hand in hand. And there's so much and I work with a lot of folks that have IDD as their primary diagnosis with co-occurring mental health issues. But they announced last week that in North Carolina, up to 10% cuts were coming for the IDD service definitions and the reimbursement rates.
So we're talking about government.
We're talking about government funding, yeah.
Okay.
It's trickling from Washington to the States. And so they're already a very underpaid population. And the people that work directly with them in the communities and the homes are living, most of them, paycheck to paycheck. And so it's just going to create more and more of a challenge for us to find people to work direct with them if they cut those rates and we can't pay people as much, because we're still only talking somewhere between $14 and $20 an hour. And you can go be a waitress for that now and make more than that.
McDonald's, yes.
Mm-hmm. It's hard work.
And I'm sure it is at times heart-wrenching, especially when you see it is so close that you can help somebody reach their goal, but you've got to sit there and do paperwork or documentation on the computer, documentation, which keeps you from helping another person. That's sad. Plus the government cuts. That's a tough place to be. So thank you for continuing to do what you do there. Well, I was going to ask you if you could wave a magic wand, what would you change? But I'm pretty sure we just covered that.
If I could wave a magic wand, I would make everybody equal. Everybody.
It should be that way. We're all children of God.
That's exactly
and
right.
He created every single one of us.
And, the fact that I work as hard as I do, and I don't live paycheck to paycheck, but I struggle as a single mom. It's frustrating because I'm smart and, I'm not Steve Jobs, but he's still a man just like your husband is, and just like Michael is. And yet he makes billions and billions of dollars. And I don't know, equality would truly be the magic wand that I would wave.
I like that magic wand. When you're not advocating, I read where you like to garden and you're a Duke basketball fan. How do you have time for gardening?
Well, I garden flowers.
Well, still.
That's my therapy. I call it, I'm going to go play in the dirt for a little while.
See, I don't get that, but go ahead.
To play in the dirt, plant something, and watch it evolve into a beautiful flower is an amazing process. And it brings me so much joy. It gives me a peace. It makes the world go away for a little while.
You are in that moment.
I am in that moment,
flower.
and it's all about, and Michael, it started out with Michael learning how to do that because he wants to one day be independent. So we started with, things like, well, you got to learn to keep the grounds of your home. So we're going to mulch. And I wouldn't say it's his favorite thing, but I have seen him develop an appreciation for it. When he sees me plant this tiny little flower and all of a sudden it's blossoming and it's big and producing all of this color and beauty.
That's beautiful. You're making me want to go dig in the dirt. No, not really.
Well, I'm a good teacher.
There you go. You can just bring me a potted
my neighbor and I've lived in my home for 11 years, and my neighbor literally had maybe two. I think she had two Gerbera daisies in her front, along with some green plants that were there, when she moved in. And she is now a plant nut. So, they call me the plant whisperer. One of my favorite things to do is go to Lowe's, to the clearance rack, and find the plants that are dying and bring them home and nurture them and repot them, give them good soil, give them good vibes and watch them thrive.
Well, it doesn't get any better than that. So we're going to close right there. And I want to thank you for your honesty, your heart, and your resilience.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's been a blessing for me.
If this can help one person, one parent, find some encouragement, some hope, I think what I would want someone to take away from this, if I can just,
Sure,
is that compliance in whatever you're doing is key. So if you're following a doctor's order and you're only 80% compliant with that doctor's order, don't expect the benefit of what the doctor is telling you you're going to get. It takes that 100% compliance. The same thing with treatment modalities like applied behavior analysis. If you have your child go into a room with a therapist and a BCBA, board certified behavior analyst, registered behavioral technician during the day, and that child is compliant and behaving well, if you don't model that in your home after they leave, you're going to wind up with a child that performs one way for them and another way for you. You have to learn and do the same thing they're doing.
So it's patience and consistency.
Compliance and
Okay.
consistency.
Okay.
Patience is learned.
Yeah. I was in a meeting today and that was the topic. And I made the statement that I'm one of those people that says, God grant me patience, but hurry. So I struggle with that clearly. But, with the things that you've said here today, and I want to add the fact that when I interviewed Michael, one of the things he told me at that moment was that he wished everyone had parents like he does.
Oh.
I wanted to share that with you. But lastly, before we do close, how can people connect with the MWO show?
So right now we're working on developing our website for Inspiration Station of America.
Okay.
Our email is themwoshow@gmail.com.
Okay.
I don't remember our phone number off the top of my head, but you absolutely can email us there. Connect with us on Facebook. Look over the content there, like it, follow us. We're hoping to, as soon as we get that website built, start putting an Inspiration Station social media presence there, and we're just excited for where the next few years and what our visions are for the next few years. And if you all are praying, people, pray that God shows us how to accelerate this, because right now we feel like we're moving like turtles because we both have full-time jobs. And this is such a desire for us to do full-time.
Well, from where I'm sitting, and I'm sure where the listeners are sitting, they're not listening to a turtle. Thank you so much, Marla. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Renee.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Well, I'd like to thank the audience. Thank you so much for joining us on the Soaring Through Adversity podcast. Be sure to listen and subscribe on our YouTube channel, on the Victory Advantage website, or wherever you get your podcast. This episode will drop the first day of September, so don't miss a moment of these inspiring stories. To learn more about our foundation, The Victory Advantage, visit thevictoryadvantage.org. Again, that is victoryadvantage.org. There you'll find ways to get involved, donate, or apply for grants supporting individuals with IDD and physical disabilities to help them live independently. We are here in Union County, North Carolina, and we also serve the greater Charlotte metro area. And right now, we're currently accepting grant applications. Just head to the grant tab on our website to apply. Thank you again for being so supportive. We couldn't do it without you. And always remember, faith first, not last, will lead to the living victorious beyond limitations. And until next time, keep soaring.